What's better than one set of teammates with amazing chemistry? Two sets of teammates with amazing chemistry. We recap the Wild's win over Anaheim and how Matt Boldy may be just what the doctor ordered for Kevin Fiala on his line. All that and more today on Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Just a reminder, Locked On Wild is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts, and it is available anytime you want to listen. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we recap the Wild's 7-3 win over the Anaheim Ducks, look ahead to tonight's matchup this afternoon's matchup against the Colorado Avalanche with Alex Michetti, and we talk about some of the Wild players that are getting close to coming back to the lineup and a few returns that happened over the weekend as well. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wild, veteran Minnesota sports content producer, and joined for another Michetti Monday, another victory Michetti Monday by Alex Michetti. Alex, another nice performance for the Wilds and a couple of big games this week against Chicago as well as the Avalanche today. So obviously the team starting to kind of pull out of their slump. It's more so just great to have regular games back on the schedule for the first time in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, nice. Got a nice little 3-game winning streak going here, and some impressive wins over some pretty good teams. And this team just continues to battle. Injuries, COVID, they get through it no matter what. And good on Kaapo for stepping up for Cam. And yeah, the train keeps rolling. They think they're going to get Ek back, and then he gets COVID, and so guys coming in and out of the lineup and not missing a beat. And so yeah, to get 7 on Anaheim was impressive, and just all the lines were rolling, so it was fun.
Yeah, and it's hard to pick out. I mean, obviously because Zuccarello scored twice and Hartman scored as well. Probably going to be that top line, but as you said, pretty much every line had great performances. Matt Boldy and Kevin Fiala had some instant chemistry, and that fourth line of Nico Sturm, Brandon Duhaime, and Connor Dewar was also good. So it was just a good all-around team win. Of those lines, though, of the Kaprizov, Hartman, Zuccarello line, which has been great every game that they've played, it seems like. Were you surprised at just how much success the Fiala Boldy line had with Matt Boldy playing with Fiala for, I think, the first time this season? Were you surprised that they had such a good chemistry with each other right off the bat?
No, not really. I mean, Matt Boldy, he's such a smart player. It's amazing, and I keep telling people that he's been stuck with some anchors a lot of the time this season, as far as line mates and just guys that aren't as creative as Matt Boldy. And now it kind of just looks like a diamond in the rough with all the injuries or just luck that after the COVID and injuries that Boldy's in the lineup, because who knows, if he would have ever gotten a chance. So after that Winter Classic performance by the squad, so it's amazing that he's here, and I think those two should stay together the entire rest of the way. It's just it's amazing to see the chemistry that they have, and it makes this team so much more dangerous to have a second scoring type of line with those two, because you're not really you wouldn't really call that Greenway Ek line, when Ek is in there as like a scoring type of
Yeah.
line, and if they can get Fiala going as the second game changer, it just makes this team just completely more dangerous.
Yeah, it's funny too because we are getting, we get these performances, and Joel Eriksson Ek is going to be back soon.
Mhm.
And obviously, they're going to find a spot for him in the lineup. But like, you look at Saturday's performance, and you're like, this team playing as well as they have been now over these last 3 games, starting to get people back. There are going to be some tough decisions that have to be made once everybody's healthy. But like Victor Rask, probably back in the taxi squad. Beyond that, I don't really know, because everybody, it seems like, is clicking, and the team has like 6 players that are going to be coming back from injuries as if they could be doing any better than they currently are.
Yeah, I want to keep Dewar in the lineup. I think he's been playing really well, and that fourth line seems to be going. And who knows when Bukestad's going to be back? Just we don't even know what it is, but it seems long term, and can just stick Rask back on the taxi squad because nobody's picking up that contract. So yeah, just kind of shuffle slightly a little bit. But you don't want to bring up chemistry that's going right now. You don't want to break up a Boldy Fiala. Keep that going. This Avalanche game is going to be an extreme test for this squad. Just with all the speed that the Avalanche have, and you're going up against our old friend and Darcy Kemper too. So yeah, it'll be fun. If you take a look at the teams that they played this past week and how well they're doing after they've played the Wild, it looks even more impressive. Boston getting 2 guys to have hat tricks back to back after the Wild, so they were not happy, and Washington had a big win the other night against the Islanders. They lost today, but they're playing really well shorthanded, and Anaheim's been one of the surprises of the league. They're running into kind of a COVID issue, but that's impressive to get 7 goals against anybody in this league.
The one final point that I wanted to mention from the game is you'd never know Kirill Kaprizov was hurt with the way that he just seamlessly came into the lineup and was just doing Kirill Kaprizov things, and dare I say it, looking better after having one game to kind of just rest than he has for most of the season. It's baffling to me how you can have something that looks that serious, and he misses one game and he's right back to what he was doing before.
Yeah, and I was joking with somebody on Twitter too that it's usually Zuccarello setting up Kirill, and this time it's Kirill setting up Zuccarello, and I didn't even know Zuccarello had that type of shot in him when Kirill dished it backhand, no looking, and he just rifled it past Stolarz, and that's tough to do against Stolarz too because he's just gigantic. I think he's when he's on skates he's 6'7". It's just like, how do you score against this guy? And you have to be lightning fast with your shot. And Zuccarello just ripped it, and that line was just so impressive. And hey, shout out Ryan Hartman, plus 29 is just bonkers. I mean, that's a guy you never have to worry about when he's on the ice as far as defensively.
Vote Hartman to the All-Star game. I don't know how long the voting goes, but let's get him there.
Yes.
Yep. Vote early, vote often.
Sorry, Kadri, we're going Hartman.
Yeah, it's got to be Ryan Hartman. But all in all, a great performance for the Wild, and as we alluded to, this team is going to continue to get players back, and is just going to hopefully get back to that same level that they were at before. I had a tweet blow up in which I said, Kaprizov was injured during the Boston game. Wild won that game, and then they beat the Washington Capitals without him in the lineup, as if a team could just continue to be trending in the right direction. Like, when this team gets everybody back, they're borderline a top 5 team in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, it's and Cam when he's going, I mean, just watch out. It's it's impressive, and Dean's pushing all the right buttons right now, and they're sticking up there right with the top of the division, and you know, Nashville's right there with the Wild, and in all the season previews, everybody thought it was going to be a down year for Nashville. So,
Mhm.
kudos to them for sticking strong, and looking forward to these rivalry type of games this week. I still consider Chicago a big rival for the Wild. No matter if they're in a kind of a slump, and kicks things off with Colorado, and that's just those games that always seem to be intense.
Yeah,
Looking forward to it for sure.
100%. And let's tell you what. Let's dive into the matchup against Chicago a little deeper when we come back. We continue today's episode of Locked On Wild with Alex Michetti after this. It is 2022, and that means New Year's resolutions are in full swing. And if your resolution is to eat a little healthier or to shed a little bit of that holiday poundage, look no further than Built Bar to help get you on track. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate and contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. If you stack that up against your favorite candy bar, Twix in my case, each candy bar typically has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So go through all of your stashes of candy and sweets, throw them all out, and add Built Bar to your snack collection, and that will help you meet some of those 2022 goals. You can head to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off of your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Continuing today's episode of Locked On Wild. And again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Seth Topal joined by Alex Michetti, and Avalanche in an afternoon tilt today. A little bit of a weird start time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but Colorado obviously pacing the Central Division at this point. They're scoring just a ton of goals. And it's crazy to me coming into the season how I thought that the Avalanche were going to not necessarily be as good as previous seasons because of all the depth that they lost. They might be better than they have been in previous years, and some of that can be attributed to Darcy Kemper, but some of it is just the fact that they have so many players that can beat you, and it seems like those guys just do it on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I mean, you got Cale Makar playing out of his mind. I mean, he's playing Norris Trophy type of defense. And they got McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Nazem Kadri's leading the league in assists. So I mean, just Andre Burakovsky's very underrated forward. Nikushkin's playing well. I mean, they got guys, all through the lineup. Sam Girard, it's just the name. Eric Johnson's playing well. So it's just. It's not all just getting the goaltender for sure. They're just on a roll right now, and they play with so much speed, and it's a really fun team to watch. This should be a really good test for the Wild, and I'm expecting actually a high scoring game just with how both of these offenses are going, and the games between the two always tend to seem to be high scoring as well.
Do you have any concerns about Kaapo in net, if it is Kaapo in net, against the Avs, or has his performance over the past few games done enough to where we can go into a matchup against Colorado like this and be confident in his ability to try to slow him down a little bit?
Yeah, but before the winning streak, like my confidence level would be a lot lower. But I mean, he for the most part shut down Boston's high-powered offense, and Same thing with Washington. Ovi didn't do a whole lot in that game, and Anaheim's got got some really impressive young guys. The defense kind of got a little shaky there at the end, but the game seemed to be well in hand, just with scoring a couple of goals in like 4 seconds and stuff. But I feel a lot more confident going in this game. It is on the road, so got to limit special special teams opportunities for Colorado. Can't let them get on the power play, because that's their bread and butter. And you get McKinnon humming and rolling down the ice there with Rantanen and Cale Makar on the back end. And Kadri out there too. Yeah, it's it's scary. So hopefully they can stay out of the box and maybe try to get an early one and go to work defensively.
Yeah, it's it's a situation where those top 2 lines for the Avalanche are so they're so top heavy that if you're going to beat him, you really have to try to stack up against the 3rd and 4th line. But then you run through, you got like JD Copper, Alex Newhook, some of those guys who aren't
bunch of young guys.
Yeah, they're obviously not those top level guys, but they're still good in their own right. But I think that is a spot where the Wild can really attack, is with the 3rd and 4th line. Going to be an opportunity for them to step up after the top 2 lines have really kind of taken over the offense here over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, perfect opportunity for Matt Boldy to go up against some, really tough competition too, and maybe take advantage of being on a lower line with the Wild right now. Just just for right now, just with all the depth that they have, and hopefully, Kevin can take advantage and get some nice setups from Boldy. I think that's exactly how they're going to have to win, is line match, and look towards the 3rd and 4th line to maybe help produce some offense.
Yeah, this is a perfect takeover game for Fiala, because you're going to have the Hartman line probably on McKinnon, probably going to have Foligno against the Kadri line.
Which should be a battle. Should be a lot of fun.
Something to that effect. So then that leaves Fiala to take over against one of those other 2 lines. And, the Wild have some good success against Darcy Kemper, so it's not like he is unbreakable in net. So 6'5", 5'4", probably not far off.
Yeah, like we talked about, him in the previous goaltender of this Colorado Avalanche team, Grubauer. They tend to give up bunches of goals. Sometimes, they go in meltdown mode and they give up a ton of goals. And so, if the Wild, if they can get, a couple early ones, get Darcy a little rattled, we could get really high scoring again, get, like you just mentioned, 5-6 goal game again.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully the Wild are up for the task, because it's nice that they're rolling again, and it would be a great opportunity for them to hop back into the picture in the Central Division. Although, as I alluded to on Twitter the other day, so the Wilds are 5 points behind the Avalanche. Now, they have a game in hand on the Avalanche. They are 5 points behind Nashville, who has 5 games. So the Wild are 5 games in hand on the Nashville Predators and only 5 points back. So once these games get made up, the Wild are going to vault back up to the top of the standings. And my favorite part is that the Wild have scored more goals than the Predators in 5 fewer games.
Yeah, it's insane. Some of the Canadian games that have been getting canceled, postponed. A lot of those teams haven't been playing good hockey, other than Toronto. So definitely can take advantage of some weaker opponents that are across the border at some point, hopefully, and make up those points relatively quickly.
We'll see how things play out with the Wild, and of course, we'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode of Locked on Wild. But Alex, there is some other news surrounding both the Wild and a pretty notable goalie in the state of Minnesota who made the jump to the NHL. So we'll talk about that to finish today's episode of Locked on Wild after this. BetOnline.ag would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline.ag remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code LOCKED ON to get things started. They have everything from the NFL playoffs, the NBA, college basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, all the way down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. Final segment of today's episode of Locked on Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day. Seth Topol and Alex Michetti finishing things up today. And Jack LaFountaine, who was a goalie for the U of M and is now a goalie for the Carolina Hurricanes, which caused some interesting reaction throughout the hockey Twitter landscape. What did you think of that whole situation with LaFountaine, not only getting up to the NHL level, but getting into his first ever game? Did give up a couple of goals, but still pretty cool for him to get to the NHL level. Just kind of weird that it happened right during the college season, though, isn't it?
It sucks for his teammates, but I mentioned to Jess Myers, really can't fault the kid. You don't get a lot of opportunities as a goaltender to make it in the pros, and so if a team desperately needs you, might as well take a shot. And it's so weird still in this COVID type of world, and so they didn't have any goalies, so they needed him, and so cool for him for chasing his dream. It is awkward. You can tell how awkward it is for Bob Motzko. He does not seem too happy at all because LaFountaine was the Mike Richter Award winner last season as top goalie in college hockey, and is right would have been right there for, this year if go back to back with that award. And so very awkward, but he's also joining a team in Carolina that has really good chance of making it all the way to the Stanley Cup too, out of the East. So yeah, it's tough. It's a tough decision, but you can't fault the kid. It sucks for his teammates, but he also has to take care of himself too, and
Right.
that's the most important thing.
The All-Star lineups were announced. The Minnesota Wild get two players in. They get Kirill Kaprizov, of course. They also get Cam Talbot, which got some interesting reaction too. And it's tough in Talbot's case because he was, I believe, the first goalie to 15 wins in the NHL because he was being used as much as he was to start the season. But some of his underlying numbers not as good. Was there anybody that you were surprised did not get announced to the All-Star team? And obviously, they're doing the last man in, trying to get Ryan Hartman there for a third Wild player to get in. But any notable snubs that shocked you from the All-Star game festivities?
Yeah, Nazem Kadri. I mean, what are we doing here? I was shocked Troy Terry didn't. He's up for the last man too. He had, I think, a 16 or 17 point scoring streak at some point earlier this season.
Yep.
He's had a phenomenal start to the year, and it's really helped, like we talked about, a resurgence of this Anaheim Ducks squad. So yeah, those are two guys that I thought, like, what are we doing here? And I loved what Nathan McKinnon said too. It's absolutely silly that Kadri's not in the in the All-Star game, and
Yeah, it's bizarre.
and he mentioned that we don't need guys from every single team.
Mhm.
Um, so sorry Arizona, sorry Montreal. I mean, you're not having great seasons, and then there's guys on other teams that are well deserving of spots that currently aren't in the All-Star game.
Yeah, it always all-star voting is just so weird because I always use the Major League Baseball example of there was one season that I think the Kansas City Royals ended up finishing with like 119 losses. Just an awful season. And they didn't have anybody that was even remotely close to being an all-star.
Mhm.
And so they sent I think his name was Mark Redman,
Okay.
and he was like 2-12 and had like a 5.9 ERA. But hey, you gotta send everybody. You gotta send at least one person from every team.
Yeah, I'm I'm not about that, but
No,
these All-Star games are always really gimmicky too. But I'm looking forward to the skills competition stuff. I think one's going to be like on the Bellagio fountains or near it or something like that. So outdoor. So that'll be kind of nuts. And yeah, Vegas is Vegas, right? So who knows what is going to happen. So
they'll have some other tricks planned.
yeah, yeah, something to look forward to with no NHL guys going to the Olympics now. So
Yeah, and the roster for Team USA was announced here this last week. Um, Obviously, no players that currently are in the NHL or have it in their contracts, I think, to where they can come up to the NHL. So Team USA really had to cast a wide net to try to fill the roster, and Canada is also trying to do the same to the point that former Wild center and one of my favorite Wild players, Eric Stahl, is with the Iowa Wild right now, trying to get himself ready to where he can try out for Team Canada. Um, I thought it was great, and I did have to laugh though because there were a lot of people who thought that like he was trying to set himself up to return to the Wild. And it's like I don't know if we need I don't know if Stahl will really make that much of an impact at center. And it's like, relax. He's not trying to hop up to the Wild roster. He's trying to get on the Olympic team.
yeah, I think Billy G is just doing it as a as a favor,
Hmm.
and unless there's long term injury, sure, you could throw him in on the team and he'd be fine. But good for him for getting that game winner the other night and or last night, and yeah, he's always been one of the good guys in the league, and so good for him, and to try to make one last run at it in the Olympics. It's pretty cool, and see a guy like Sam Hench's wild draft pick, who's at St. Cloud State, get a chance to make it in the Olympics, and I think Sam has a good chance to make the Wild at some point. Probably not right away.
Hmm.
He'd probably have to go down to Iowa, and prove himself. But yeah, it's cool to see Wild draftee in the Olympics. Especially with current NHL guys not allowed to go.
Yeah, it'll still be fun to watch. February, I think it's either 3rd or 6th. The Olympics will begin, and we'll mix some coverage in throughout the break because we still don't really know what's going to happen with games yet. I'm sure the NHL is just scrambling to try to get that figured out, but we will mix in some Olympic coverage as well throughout the course of the Winter Olympics, in addition to all the Lockdown Wild coverage as well. We've also got Hockey Day Minnesota coming up here at the end of the week, trying to get some stuff planned for that. So stay tuned. But that will do it for today's episode of Locked on Wild. Now that your first listen of the day is done, swing over and take a look at Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Locked On Bets is free and available on all podcast platforms, just like Locked on Wild. You can listen anywhere and on any platform. You can also follow us on social media. All of our channels, just search Locked on Wild. You'll find everything that exists. We are keeping you up to date on all things Minnesota Wild because if a puck drops in the state of hockey, Locked on Wild has you covered with new episodes every Monday through Friday as parts of the Locked On Podcast Network.